When people read the Torah, many people can't get past the seemingly never-ending list of restrictions, especially when it comes to the Levitical priesthood. Don't do this, don't do that, etc. This week's Torah portion is no exception. From a surface reading of the text, it appears that a priest can't even attend his own wife's funeral. What's up with that? Let's take a look as we dive deep into the current Torah portion in this 5-Minute Torah commentary. Shalom, I'm Darren with Emet HaTorah, where we connect disciples of Yeshua with the eternal Torah of God. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please do yourself a favor by subscribing to our channel, turning on notifications so you won't miss out on any important content. In today's video, I'm going to highlight 3 things that you need to know about this week's Torah portion. And then I'll be going into the commentary on this week's Torah portion. This is Emor, which is Leviticus chapter 21, verse 1 through chapter 24, verse 23. You'll find links to everything I talk about in this video in the description box below, including links to the written and audio portions of the commentary. Be sure to stick around to the end of this video where I'm going to tell you how you can download a free resource to add to your studies. It's called The Spirit of the Law, and it's an ebook that's over 30 pages long that's going to help you understand the difference between the spirit of the law and the letter of the law and why there's a seeming conflict and how to resolve it. Here are the 3 things that you need to know about this week's Torah portion. First of all, number 1, restrictions for priests. The first section in this week's Torah portion is focused on the restrictions of the Kohanim, the Levitical priesthood. It details prohibited conduct of the priesthood as well as qualifications for being able to serve in the temple. Number 2, restrictions for sacrifice. The second section in this week's Torah portion is focused on specific defects in animals that prohibit them from being brought as offerings in the temple. And number 3, the biblical festivals. Leviticus chapter 23 is entirely focused on spelling out the biblical calendar and the festival cycle, beginning with the weekly Sabbath. If you're looking for details about one of the biblical festivals, you're most likely going to find it in this chapter. This week's 5-Minute Torah commentary is called The Relative Nearest Him, and it's brought to you by 5-Minute Torah, Volume 3. Parashat Emor begins with a problematic passage. Through Moses, God gives instructions to the priesthood prohibiting them from becoming ritually impure through corpse contamination. This rule has exceptions, however, and the Torah gives a list of close relatives by which the priest may allow himself to become ritually impure. This could either be through attending the body of the deceased or merely attending the funeral. Leviticus 21 verses 1 through 3 says, "And the Lord said to Moses, Speak to the priests, the sons of Aaron, and say to them, No one shall make himself unclean for the dead among his people, except for his closest relatives, his mother, his father, his son, his daughter, his brother, or his virgin sister, who is near to him because she has had no husband. For her he may make himself unclean." In this passage, we learn that a priest may attend to the body of 6 different family members: his mother, his father, his son, his daughter, his brother, and his unmarried sister. However, the list seems incomplete. What about his wife? Is the Torah so insensitive that it doesn't allow a priest to attend the funeral of his own wife? Even though she's not physically or biologically related to him as the others are in the list, shouldn't the Torah make an exception for his beloved wife? If we understand the Torah the way our rabbis do, then the Torah speaks plainly about the inclusion of the wife of a priest in this list. Our English translation introduces the list of exceptions with the descriptive phrase, his closest relatives. However, a more accurate translation of this phrase would be, quote, for the relative nearest him. Rather than an introduction to the 6 relatives that he may become ritually contaminated through, the Torah is actually referring to a 7th family member, the one whom he is closest to. Who is this person that's closer than these 6 other family members? Rashi, stating the general consensus by the majority of rabbinic interpretations, says that it's none other than his wife. How is it that his wife, who is not a blood relative, is included in this list? This is based on the creation account in which Eve was taken from the very flesh of Adam and then given back to him. When he sees her for the first time, his reaction is, "This, at last, is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because she was taken out of man." This is Genesis chapter 2, verse 23. Adam saw this newly acquired wife as not merely another individual, but an extension of himself. The very next verse in the Torah emphasizes this point by declaring, "Therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh." Throughout history, this sacred unity has been under attack from infidelity, divorce, neglect, abuse, and redefining the boundaries of marriage according to the standards contrary to the biblical parameters. This relationship between a husband and wife has constantly become victim to the whims of our flesh and the toxic culture we live in. The Torah teaches us that a man's wife becomes one with his own flesh. So this poor treatment of her is detrimental to himself. We also read, "He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord." This is in Proverbs chapter 18, verse 22. This is how we should view the sacred and mysterious unity of a man and woman. We should always remember that we find within it one of the most precious gifts God has given to human beings. The Holy Scriptures place great value on a faithful and godly wife, so much so that we recite Proverbs 31 verses 10 through 31 every Friday night to remind us of her value. An excellent wife who can find? She is far more precious than jewels. The heart of her husband trusts in her, and he will have no lack of gain. She does him good and not harm all the days of her life. And this is the first portion of that in Proverbs 31 verses 10 through 12. The Levitical priesthood could not allow themselves to become ritually impure except for the most strict circumstances, which included the deaths of their nearest relatives. God created an exception for the deaths of these relatives. Lest we believe that God is insensitive to a man who has just lost his wife, the Torah informs us that he may become unclean for his wife also, the relative nearest him. Who is closer to a man than his wife? No one. She is the relative nearest him. The next time we are tempted to believe God is less than empathetic, let us consider his compassion towards husband and wife. You guys are amazing. Thanks for hanging around to the end of this video. If you enjoyed this week's 5-Minute Torah commentary, you'll love the free ebook that I'm about to tell you about. It's called The Spirit of the Law and details the supposed conflict between the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. It's over 30 pages long and it's a free download. All you have to do is subscribe to my mailing list using the link below in the description box. And if you're already a subscriber, don't worry about it. Just fill in the information and hit the submit button. You won't be bombarded by double emails. The form will know that you're already subscribed, but it'll give you access to this free ebook. Don't wait. Subscribe now and download your free copy of The Spirit of the Law. Hey guys, please do us a favor. Like this video. It's going to help us to be more visible on YouTube. It's going to help us to send out the message about Torah and Yeshua to a larger audience. Please share this video on your social media networks such as Facebook and Twitter. If you haven't already done so, of course, subscribe and turn on notifications. We're trying to hit the 1,000 mark so we can be in the YouTube's algorithms to reach a broader and larger audience. So if you would, help us to reach that goal. And if you missed last week's 5-Minute Torah commentary, don't worry. All you have to do is click the link right here and it'll take you right to it. Shavua Tov from Emet HaTorah.